if a man doesn't really know what he wants, and I feel like I always encounter men who are like that. They don't really know what they want, and you always also hear women obviously saying, "I want a man who knows what he wants."
Yes.
So if a man is on basically his search for meaning, his search for what am I really here for? What is my purpose?
Sure.
What piece of advice would you give him?
You need to find that path, because what most people do, most men in today's societies, they have learned to follow a woman's very emotional, very zigzag course. That's like trying for a bird. It is very easy for a bird to catch a fly in mid-flight. It is almost impossible for a bird to catch a butterfly, because it's all over the map. Very ADD, and women are like that. And if you're trying to follow that course, of course, you're never going to go somewhere. So you got to have your own course. You got to be able to follow that, and the woman then becomes something that likes to be taken on that adventure without being the center of your life. And one of the things about being the nice guy, oh, you're so beautiful, can I buy you drinks, can I buy you dinner, all that wonderful stuff, paying you compliments. What most women have told me, or even most guys, why a relationship failed, well, I became the centerpiece of his life. He didn't really have a life on his own. And he didn't know where he was going, and so how am I going to follow or trust the guy to lead me somewhere if he himself has no compass, no mental or emotional guidance system? If you don't have your life's purpose figured out, then you have a void inside of yourself, and you will try to fill that void with another person. We all know that our life is very mundane, it's very boring. We meet a girl, all of a sudden we're in cloud nine, happy and everything is wonderful, and then like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago our life sucks again, and we're kind of like depressed back where you started, even worse. And then by that time, a lot of times, not only will the charm have worn off, but the woman is off and gone, because you didn't take her on an adventure with you. You made her the adventure, and no woman wants to do that. And actually I got this from Scott McKay one time. He told me the story about this model, and this very attractive model said, look, I'm so tired of guys on a date. He says, oh, so what do you want to do? And the guy says, oh, I don't know, whatever you want to do. and one says, the next guy that tells me this, I will tell him straight in his face, you know what, just take me to Walgreens, I'll buy some tampons, and then on the way home, drop me off on the way home. And I was thinking,
so
very good.
How do you, or how can a man go about finding this life purpose, this thing where he becomes this attractive human being, and where he is this person that's not only attractive to women, but also attractive to himself?
Find out, there's a book that's called Do What You Love and the Money Shall Follow, or Will Follow. Yeah. And that pretty much sums it up in so many words, because what it really is, if you don't know what really gives you energy, excitement, and a sense of, oh yeah, I love this, I'd like to get more of it, then it's really hard for you to do that. Most people try to pick it up off a shopping list, especially in Europe where I teach a lot. They say, well, I have these options, and they're trying to almost match whatever towns they think they might have to like the job offers.
Or what their parents wanted.
Or what their parents wanted for them. And this is not how you do that. You figure out what is it that you really are good at and like at the same time, which tends to kind of coincide if you really are open to it. And you really need to feel deep inside, is this giving me a feeling of freedom? Does it feel like freedom? Martha Beck, who's probably the original life coach, and I think that term was coined for her 20 years ago. She's a great, great coach, one of the best you'll ever find. And she wrote a book called Finding Your North Star. And she talks about this. When you're doing something and you're not sure is it your thing, just feel it. Does it feel like shackles on? That's the terminology he uses. Does it give you a feeling, when you take a tour of your body, you feel deep inside your stomach, in your belly, does it give you a feeling of, this is beautiful, I love this, I want more of the same? Or does it give you a feeling like, well, yeah, I kind of have to do that? I mean, if you talk to people that go to motivational speakers or motivational trainers or coaches, they say, well, I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and then I have to do the other thing. And it's like the therapy thing. You're shitting all over yourself. You shouldn't. Whenever you feel the need to, you need to not. I know this is kind of like a mind bender, but whenever you feel you should be doing something, or you have these high standards, or which are usually internalized expectations of others, and you try to follow that, it'll make you miserable. And there's other pitfalls. For instance, for years and years and years, ever since I was 13, 14, I wanted to be not only a rock star, but specifically a keyboard wizard. And at the time, there were big bands like Yes with Rick Wakeman, or Keith Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Herbie Hancock, and today we have Diana Krall, and Oscar Peterson was one of the greats, probably the fastest jazz wizard ever. And I always wanted that. And I realized, but... And I should have known that it was really my ego talking, not my love for music. Because if I'm totally honest, if I would have been totally honest with myself, yes, it sounded cool to be a musician. It gets you girls, right?
You wanted the attention.
I wanted all that. And even the Beatles, they asked John Lennon and Paul McCartney, said, why did you become, form a band? Why did you become musicians? I said, to pick a buzz. To get chicks. And that's really what it was. And I should have known. I would have saved myself 10 to 20 years of grief, practicing piano for many hours a day, and never getting beyond a very high level mediocrity. When I remember I practiced a piece of music called Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin. And it took me like a year to kind of master it, so I could actually play it without making an ass of myself. And then this 17-year-old Russian girl heard me play, and she said, nice. And I said, you think, I was still seeking approval, this was a long time ago. And she said, mastery of that piece might get you into a Moscow conservatory as an entry level, like an SAT. That's the SAT. What I thought was the pinnacle of my career as a pianist, to her was like an SAT, like an entry level test. And truth be told, it never felt comfortable. It always felt like I have to practice, I need to do this, I have to, and it never felt like freedom. And there's a book, when it comes to life's purpose, I think everybody, I actually give workshops called Live. Life's purpose multiplied or factored by intention, by vision, equals ecstasy. And that formula really sums it up, because if you have all those things, you have your life's purpose, you found your calling life, your vocation means calling. You found your intention is not I want, it's something very different. It's like almost mindful being. It's like wanting without having to, outcome independent. Your vision is what is the greater vision I have for myself? Like Joseph Campbell said, a hero is somebody who lives something greater than himself. Equals ecstasy. Yes, that is durable fulfillment, and it's something ongoing. If you find all those three and combine them in the right way, you'll be very happy. And for that workshop that I give in Europe and sometimes in Los Angeles, I actually make it required reading this book called Discover Your Strengths Now. It's part of the trilogy. There's 3 books. It's first Break All the Rules. It's a management book. Buckingham and I forget the other name. And people read that book, and there's actually something, the Gallup Strength Finder test in it. And you're doing a quick online test that's timed on the clock, so you can't really think it or overthink it. And then people say, okay, this helps you to identify 5 core talents out of 34. And that gives you an idea of where you could be going, what are inborn natural talents. And let me say one other thing here. Everybody, there is Maxwell Maltz with his psychocybernetics, or there's other books that say you can be anything, you can do anything, and you basically start with a blank slate of whatever, and then you just choose what you want, and you can be that. And there's actually a book called The Talent Code. And I know I'm not going to make a lot of friends with this in the scene of motivational speakers and coaches. I say this is the biggest bunch of garbage I have ever heard, and it's one of the biggest lies ever laid on people. And we've all heard about the movie Rudy. There's an event going on next door. We've all heard about the movie Rudy as the ultimate piece of motivation. You can be anything. Now here's a guy that works as a groundskeeper for Notre Dame college football, right? Notre Dame, the best college football, at least in the 70s and 80s it was considered. And he was, I don't know, he was like 5'6" or something like that. He weighed like 140 pounds or 160 pounds. I mean, he was basically, a geeky guy that wanted to be something that you typically need to have a fighting weight of 240 pounds and need to be able to bench like 300-400 pounds and, just to be able to throw your weight around, right? Without getting run over. And he but he wanted to be a football player. And this is like, oh, you can be anything. You can reach the stars is the limit, right? So he practiced for, I think, 2 years, and he finally, they never really fully accepted him. And I'm paraphrasing from the movie, essentially. But after 2 years, I think he was allowed, and another 2 years of training, he was actually, I think, he was basically a bench warmer. In the last 15 minutes, he was kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of how it happened. He was allowed to play for 15 minutes, and then he tackled the opposing team's quarterback. And so, to quote Andy Warhol, he had his 15 minutes of fame. And he made it, right? No, he didn't. Is he a college football player today? No, that was his 15 minutes of fame.
Could have gone nowhere with that.
It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, is he an NFL player? Did he get drafted to any of the major teams? Not a chance in frigging hell, pardon my French, because unless you weigh at least 220 pounds,
you're not going to get in there.
There is no way in hell you're going to survive.
Yeah.
And we've all heard about the movie Concussion, which is unfortunately the sad reality of this big multi-billion-dollar business called football. And I admire football players. It's a great sport. It requires almost machine-like chess player intelligence. It's a war game. And you have to be you can't be stupid and play football successfully. It's not possible. But you have to fulfill certain physical requirements, and you have to have certain core talents. And to make a long story really short, this guy's ego, and nothing against Rudy, I admire the guy, he's a great guy, wonderful, he's actually a real person. But think about it. He spent infinite time, energy, and emotional energy on something that was just beyond his natural abilities. Oh no, there's studies that prove that in China or Japan or where the heck it is, if you practice 2 hours a day on the violin, you get so good. If you practice 4 hours and 8 hours, you're a master. Have you listened to these girls? If you really understand music, they're machines. They're robots. They play very mechanically, but any machine can do better. And that is not your core talent. Listen to what, I don't try to get religious or metaphysical on you, but there is a calling. And it is not true that we're like a blank slate. When we're born, we have a certain amount of brain, and then what's deemed by neurology as a catastrophic event or a near catastrophic event of pruning happens, and your brain kind of it's like erosion on soil, and these grooves kind of deepen, and like half your talents fall away. And if you have absolutely if you can do anything universally well, oh, you're a Renaissance man. No, you're an idiot. You're completely dysfunctional and non-functional. You cannot function because you have to specialize. And I'm not a real religious man. That doesn't mean I don't believe in higher power, but whatever higher power you believe in, I call it creative spirit because I come out of the Native American or shamanic tradition. That, whatever you want to call it, the spark of creative, that's your calling, your vocation. Vox, the voice, is calling you. What were you called for? And those natural talents, you can always do them. If somebody wakes you up at 3:47 a.m., puts a Glock 45 to your head, and somebody did that to me once, so I remember that.
It's something you won't forget.
And I actually did it to somebody else at almost approximately the same time I was entering my room. I was within 1 second, I had the gun cocked and ready, chambered, and I had it pointed at the guy with the laser before I even woke up.
Whoa.
And the guy said, oops, I said, don't come in my room with the phone. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, unless it comes that natural to you. Now, that's not an excuse. There's tons of talented people, and that's a counter argument you hear a lot, that have natural talent and ability but don't do shit with it, right? Yes, and in order to take a core talent into a strength, yes, it will take you the 10,000 hours of mastery, whatever, however long it takes you, 5 years, 10 years, 10,000 hours is to master anything, but you can only truly master something that you don't have to go emotionally uphill battle and force yourself to do it. So it becomes a path of water, and water always flows downhill. Yeah. This is the path of least resistance that people like Robert Fritz talk about in his book. Find out what it is that really gets you going, that you're passionate about. And sorry, this is of all the answers I'm giving, this is the longest one, but I felt I needed to kind of connect all these dots
to make my point. Yeah.
And unless you feel it, truly feel it, it gives you a sense of elevation or elation or exaltation or whatever it is, and you really feel it, you like it, it's a core talent. And if you feel like you have to force yourself to do it, it is not. End of story.